The Mets are shutting down Kodai Senga with a shoulder strain. What does this mean for the rotation? And I've got something to say to my fellow Mets fans. And well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Wa2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. Reminder, we go live every Wednesday night, especially if you're a New York Jets fan. Join us at 10 p.m. Right now, we're going through position breakdowns, talking about who the Jets can get in the draft and in free agency. We've been doing mock drafts. We do trivia. We have a great time. Come on and check out the fun. But today, it's not about football. I want to talk a little New York Mets baseball. As I'm doing this recording, it is Saturday. The first spring training game is about to happen with the Mets taking on the Cardinals. And it wouldn't be a Mets spring training without somebody getting injured, now would it? And of course, it has to be Kodai Senga. The Mets, probably their best starting pitcher. He has a strained capsule in his shoulder. Now, apparently, it's a moderate I swear to you, I was not great at biology when I was in school, okay? But because of the Mets, I've learned about different body parts I never would have known about had I not been a Mets fan. Just all these different parts that could get injured, a Met will find a way to get it hurt. But right now, the likeliness is he is starting the season on the injured list. He's going to be shut down until symptoms subside. About the only thing we know is that there is no surgery coming. Or as David Stern said it, he has to say in his Harvard way, it's a non-surgical situation, something like that. David, just say the guy's not having surgery, please. Just please. I know you went to Harvard and I didn't quite make it, but come on. Please. But the other thing Stern said when he basically broke the news is the Mets are not expected to be signing another starting pitcher. And this had some of my fellow Mets fans in an absolute outrage. Well, what do you want him to say? Do you want him to say, yes, we're very open to negotiating with other starting pitchers and basically lose any, basically lose any leverage? I mean, when you're basically admitting that you need a pitcher, what Scott Boras, whoever the agent is, what are they going to do? They're going to raise the price. So, what do we really want Stearns to say in that press conference about getting another starting pitcher? It would be dumb to admit that while he's negotiating. But the fact of the matter remains, Kodai Senga is the Mets' most reliable starting pitcher. Don't know if he has the most upside because Luis Severino is there, but Senga, you feel very confident in what he can give. Signed a 5-year contract before the 2023 season. Last year went 12-7 with a 2.93 ERA, 166 innings pitched, even got some Cy Young votes. And so now what do the Mets do? Well, the likelihood is it will be Tyler McGill taking his spot, 28 years old. He's shown some glimpses of being good, but he has been quite inconsistent. Final couple of starts last year in August and September did very well, pitched a 2.55 ERA. And the big thing he's been doing this offseason is working on a splitter called the American Spork. Well, and right now a lot of people are considering that to be a very exciting pitch. Well, we shall see. We shall see, but would it really surprise any of us if McGill is the one getting the opening day start? Wouldn't shock me. Joeylucchesi, that's an interesting one. Now, when he did get a chance to pitch down the stretch last year, he looked really good. Went undefeated, a 1.48 ERA over 4 starts in the second half. Also, he's dropped 25 pounds in the last calendar year. So Lucchesi is worth taking a look at. Then you've got Josebutto. He's the youngest of the bunch, former top 15 Mets prospect. In 2022, he actually ranked 12th among Mets prospects. And, he's had kind of like up and down moments, but in September of last year, looked really good, 3.29 ERA over 5 starts. So, he has a little bit of experience. He's got a little bit of upside, but not as much upside. Like, best case, back of the rotation starter. And then you have some of the younger pitchers, most notably in my mind, Christianscott. He's got an outside shot, but he was the 2023 Mets Organizational Pitcher of the Year. And we've talked about him previously when we did our Mets prospect profiles, where I counted down the top 20 Mets prospects. If you look at the 3 levels of the minor league system where Scott pitched, he reached Double-A, at the highest level, had a 2.57 ERA, and his whip was 0.856. That's in 19 starts with 107 strikeouts and only 12 walks. Very, very impressive. Now, it'd be quite a jump to take him from Double-A all the way to the majors. I think he'd have to have a lights-out spring training. I don't think it would happen unless he gives the Mets absolutely no choice, and he's just that good. So it's a long shot, but I think Christian Scott, somebody you might see later this year. Mike Vassell, another one you might see later this year. But then there's the free agent route, which is still available. Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, my preference has always been Jordan Montgomery for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think we've seen the best of Blake Snell. I don't think we've seen the best of Jordan Montgomery. Number two, Jordan Montgomery has pitched very, very well for a New York baseball team. That means something. Number three, Jordan Montgomery will not cost any draft compensation, unlike Blake Snell, where you have to give up 2 draft picks or have at least 2 draft picks moved down in the draft order. Now, and the other reason is I want Montgomery signed to multiple years. There are no starting pitchers under contract in 2025 aside from Kodai Senga. Not one. So we're looking at the Mets having to build an entire rotation through free agency, and then we got to pray that Vassell, Scott, Blade, Tidwell, one of these guys can emerge as a legitimate major league starting pitcher. Now, right now, the big talk is that Montgomery would go to Boston. Boston is waiting for the contract demands to come down. It makes sense. His wife is doing like a medical residency or something like that over there. But hey, New York is not that far from Boston. So my hope is the Mets will go get Montgomery. I don't expect it, but I'm still hoping. I've been hoping for months. Let's see what happens. Now, I want to turn the table and say something to my fellow Mets fans. I don't know the last time that expectations were this low, considering the level of talent on this team. You know, Mets fans I think they've already surrendered the idea of winning the division, which I understand. The Braves are what they are. They've seen the Phillies make these just really exciting playoff runs the last 2 seasons, making the World Series 1 time, making the NLCS last year. You know, here's my thought on the division. Big deal. Winning the division means very, 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 very little, except you get to hang one like minor league banner in your ballpark if you really want to. Because think about it. Now you got 6 teams in the playoffs. You know, it meant something when you had 5 teams and the 2 division runners-up would play 1 wild card game. But now it's like, you know, the last division winner is the same as the last wild card. It gets nothing because we've learned home field advantage means practically nothing in baseball. Just look at the Arizona Diamondbacks when they beat Philadelphia in their home park to get to the World Series. And speaking of Arizona, you know what? They only won 84 games last year. They just got hot at the right time. Are you telling me that the Mets with this talent can't win 84 games? And you can't even look at the division games because they got fewer games with the Phillies and Braves than ever before. Now you're playing these other teams in the National League. You're playing everybody in the American League. So the schedule is a lot less, you know, leaning towards a tough division. So that works well for the Mets as well. And again, look at the talent that's on the team. Alonso, Lindor, Nimmo, Starling Marte looks to be healthy. Francisco Alvarez might wind up being the protection that Alonso needs in that lineup. That's something to be determined, but we will see. Much better bullpen, certainly a deeper bullpen than last season when you add in Edwin Diaz back into the mix. You know, the starting rotation has depth. It doesn't have the top-end starter that we as Mets fans are used to seeing. You know, as Mets fans, we're used to having an ace or 2 aces in that rotation. We don't have that right now. We got a couple number 2s, number 3, that type of thing if you want to go by the numbers. But you do have some depth in the rotation. But nowadays, starting pitchers only pitch 6 innings on average anyway. You need to prevent runs however you can do that. That's why you get bullpen depth, and that's what the Mets did. That's why you get good defensive players. Look at Harrison Bader. Fits very, very well. That was a player I wanted the Mets to sign at the beginning of the offseason. They did that. I mean, the Mets do have quite a few prospects that are ready to come up, I think, at the end of this year, middle of this year to the end of this year, and will be able to make an impact. Jet Williams, Luis Angel Acuna, Drew Gilbert. Okay, then at the pitchers, we talked about Scott, we talked about Vassell, possibly Dominic Hamill, Blade Tidwell down the road, and there's more prospects down the road, maybe 2-3 years away, who are going to be contributing too. Colin Houck, Alex Ramirez, Marco Vargas, even Kevin Parada maybe. Now, let's be fair. Do I think that this is a great team right now? I don't. Is this a team that could compete for a wild card spot and be relevant into September? Absolutely. So Mets fans, stop thinking like losers, and let's see what this team can actually be, and maybe they'll exceed the expectations. All right, those are my thoughts on the Mets today. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where, the Wicker Chair.